Hello everyone, nice to be here with you. I hope you are enjoying your day wherever you are, wherever you're tuning in from. I'm really happy to have you here and excited to share this week's practice with you. I would like to start by inviting you into a bit of meditation. And I know meditation can be tricky for a lot of people. Some people just don't enjoy the idea of that word or practice or find it really difficult. Some people love it. I'm a big fan. And I just want to encourage you to give this a try and see how you feel. I'll be guiding you through it. And there's no right or wrong way to do it. And you don't have to sit still and hold on. So I just want to let you know that that's where we're going to begin. And in order to do so, I want to go through some seating options. So I happen to have a really lovely little meditation bench, which I'm sure you can find like versions online. I kind of sit on it like this, and then it elevates my bum off my heels, and it just gives me a really nice kind of upright position. The idea with a meditation position is that we elevate the hips above the knees. That's and so that we can support the spine, and that's pretty much the goal. So there are a lot of ways to do that. A meditation bench or chair is one way. A simple pillow is another, and you don't have to sit on your heels like this. It's kind of can only last so long without a bench or a chair like that. Another way to sit is with a pillow propped up, and you can see that my knees are still a bit high here. So a nice thing to do is to fold the pillow maybe in half, get the knees a little higher, and maybe that's not even enough. Maybe I need a yoga block or another pillow, or if I can come into a wider position with my feet and my knees, that feels a little better. But we want to make sure we're not slouched and we're not striving and efforting a lot with our spine. So finding a place that we actually feel comfortable. I love to also, you can put the pillow up against the wall and then lean back just a little bit and have your back supported on the wall. There's no need to have meditation be a strain and a stress physically on the body. My meditation practice actually changed immensely when I started meditating in a chair. I was suffering from debilitating, horrible, chronic back pain every day. And I loved to meditate, but I could never sit. And once someone told me, I was like, well, why don't you just try sitting in a chair? I was like, you're allowed to do that? You know? That changed my entire practice. So sit in a chair, sit against the wall, prop up your hips a bit with some support. And even if you like, you can just lay down. You can lay down with your knees bending, your feet flat on the floor, or in a kind of fully reclined Shavasana position. The only thing that it happens with meditation when laying down often is that we have a tendency to doze off, kind of lose concentration, or even fall asleep. And that's not really our goal. It's totally fine if that happens. And my belief is always then that's just what the body needs at that moment. But that's not really where we're trying to go in our meditation practice. So if you need a moment to pause the video and gather a prop or a chair or just set yourself up, please feel free to do so before we move into our meditation. Okay, so I am going to set myself up just with my little meditation stool. Find my seat. And you can come to find your seat as well. Something that feels both restful and supportive. That's kind of the beautiful balance in a meditation posture. A seat where we kind of naturally can sink into. And I'll guide you through that. I also love to have a pillow in my lap and then place my hands on the pillow, and it just creates, again, a little bit of support for my hands and my arms. So, deep breath. Eyes can just be soft to start. Let's take a few breaths in and out through the nose. You can emphasize the exhalations, lengthening through the exhale. And this breath, let's take in through the nose and release through the mouth. If the eyes want to gently close, they can do so. If that doesn't feel comfortable for you, simply keep the gaze soft and open, not looking at any one object. Exhale. Beautiful. We're just arriving into space, arriving into a sense of presence and awareness. Each exhalation is an invitation to soften into yourself. We're just observing the breath in its natural rhythm. Maybe the sensation of the belly rising and falling is what draws our attention. Or perhaps it's the cool air on the tip of the nostril as we inhale. There's no right or wrong sense of focus here. We're simply allowing ourselves to settle into our seat of presence. Let the eyes and the forehead soften. Let go of any holding or tension in the jaw, in the shoulders, in the spine. And invite gravity to pour down through you, through the top of the head, into the brainstem, cervical spine in the neck, and trickling down the entirety of the spine, bringing a nice sense of weightiness and ease into the entire body. And then let that weightiness begin to fill and pour into your hips, into your pelvic bowl, into your sit bones. This is our rooted seat. This is the space from which we connect to the ground, to a sense of ground. We feel the support of our seat and the earth beneath us. through that connection and support, we're able to come into our own center. And with each exhalation, we just continue again and again to soften into that seat. Slowly, we take stock of the inhalation and this sense of rising and lengthening through the body. We can imagine a string attached to the very tip and top of the head. And we're just being suspended from that string effortlessly. So there's a sense of being held perfectly upright, but without any strain or effort. And this takes practice. So we're simply making room for the possibility of that experience. With each breath, inviting that sense of ease and effortlessness. Enjoying this connection to the earth and connection to something greater than ourselves. And we exist between that. And this is the space of stillness. Let go of any tension through the exhalation. Drop the shoulders. Drop the thinking mind. Not by pushing it away and resisting it, but by letting everything melt. We soften our edges. We let go of any tight grips. We simply observe the sounds around us. The sensation of the air on our skin and the clothes on our back. perhaps any smells in the air or even tastes on the tongue. There's no need to push anything away. Instead, we're inviting in. And perhaps if we can, if we view something or hear something that feels distracting, maybe we can just smile at that and allow it to be what it is. If the eyes are closed, can gently begin to simply flutter the eyelids open, maybe a third of the way, halfway, and eventually all the way, maintaining this sensation of open observation and ease as the visual world pours back in. Maybe we take a breath to acknowledge coming back to space, coming back to the context of the environment we're in and occupying. And maybe just take from this place of stillness a gentle scan of your surroundings through the eyes. You can turn the head right and left, just scanning your space with a sense of newfound discovery. And letting your environment and the details of your space pour into your awareness. Moving very slowly, very gently. I always like to hold a sense of gratitude for my space, for the space that holds me, wherever it is that I am. So perhaps a little internal thank you for this space. And we're coming back to here, coming back to this body. And if you need to change position, please feel free to shift the legs, shift your seat, readjust. We're going to stay in a bit of a seated position and move from here, so find what works for you. If you need to stretch your legs or come up from a prone position, please do so. And when you're ready, I'm just going to invite you to find a bit of exploration through the upper half of the body. So keeping the lower half quite rooted, keeping our seat really nice and sturdy in connection with the earth, and starting to shift through the shoulders, maybe taking a few shoulder rolls, through the neck, maybe tilting the head side to side. And through the spine, in all of its myriad, multifaceted sense of directionality and movement. I'm beginning to take some kind of circles through the spine, the chest collapsing back and then arching forward. And I encourage you to make this movement non-linear. So not simply back and forth, but almost like wave forms coming through different parts of the body. So as I extend into my ribs, my head and neck come over and my shoulder draws back. And I let that drop and then extend into the opposite side. And as I inhale, maybe my arm wants to reach forward. And that feels good. So perhaps I take my hands to clasp and take them up above the head as if I was taking a nice morning stretch. What is it that your body is craving and speaking to you in this moment? What wants to open? What wants to be discovered? Perhaps there is an arching and a collapsing internally in the stomach, and a coming forward and rounding. Inhaling, drawing forward, opening through the chest and the ribs and the side body. Taking the chin up towards the sky, opening through the throat. Exhaling and releasing. Fingertips come to the ground at our side. The head and the neck drop down to one shoulder. And then coming around to the opposite side. Breathing into areas of tension and holding the neck. Often we're tight in the neck, and that's the connection to our traps and our shoulders and shoulder blades. So anytime we find an area that feels yummy or like it just could use some extra attention and time, feel free to pause there and then breathe from that space. So instead of breathing into that space and trying to force a sense of opening, we find that space, we invite gravity, and then we invite breath in from that space. So as if I can imagine breathing from this tension in my neck and just watching it expand and contract gently. But as I inhale and expand, that expansion and length that I'm creating, it stays during the exhalation. It stays, but it softens. So through our inhalations and our movements, we're inviting expansion and length, sense of discovery and openness. And through our exhalations, we're keeping that length, but we're softening in our bones, in our muscles, in our fascial body. in any sense of efforting or doing. Take the hands out in front of you. Again, anytime you need to shift your seat, shift your legs, change your space of support, please do so. You can also just sit with the bum on the floor and the legs out extended if that feels good. Again, a prop, a pillow, or a yoga block helps a lot. We're going to just accentuate through the wrists and the fingers. And I'm just circling the wrists one direction and then kind of just bending and opening the fingers and so that I expand through the palms. There's a lot of energy centers and points in our hands, and it's really helpful to be able to stretch through the fingertips and the palms and then collapse back. And not only energy, but also there's connections, muscle connections and fascial connections to the lungs. So as we stretch through the fingers, we'll actually be able to take deeper, bigger, longer breaths. Beautiful. Creating a bit of space and exploration in those joints. And then play with it. Be easy. It's not, doesn't have to be performative or a dance, but just allow. Maybe my arms want to stretch out to a T. Maybe I have a big yawn. But I'm kind of in this just fluid state of articulation and discovery, and there's no right or wrong. I'm just allowing the impulse of one movement and articulation to influence the next. So what I'm doing with my fingers and my wrists starts to then play into my elbow. So just take one arm and just play with that. Play with the sense of the rotation of the forearm, the circulation in the wrist, and the bending and expression through the fingers. And just witness, where does that want to take me? What can that express, and what can I discover through that? What can I discover about myself, my patterns, my physical body, my tensions, my ease? And okay, if it's all been down here, what does it feel like to extend out to the side? What does it feel like to cross my body or come up above? How does that change just by using one arm, fingers, wrists, and elbow, my relationship to the entire rest of my body? What is it like to move with two arms? Maybe my gaze is following my hands. Maybe it's looking in contrast. Why don't we follow the hands? So follow the hands with the gaze wherever they go, and allow then that movement to ripple up past the elbows into the shoulders. You can pick one hand to follow, you can oscillate between the two, you can move them together. So just following the hands and the arms with my gaze. Movement's now coming into the shoulders, and as it comes into the shoulders, it naturally starts to come into the ribs and the spine, and then the neck. And if that feels like too much all at once, reduce back. Okay, just the arms. Okay, shoulders. Oh, let's do that again. Oh, breathe in. Open. Open. Raising the arms up above the head. Let's do that a few times. Inhale the arms forward, up, and then expand, spread through the fingertips. Try not to compromise the low back by overextending and arching. So inhale, extend through the spine, tall through the top of the head. Good. And now bring fluidity back. Invite a greater degree of twisting now in the spine. So we can release a bit of focus on the arms and draw our attention and awareness more to this vertebral column that has the ability to bend and flex and twist in so many directions. And I actually invite you to bring your fists like this in front of you, and you can imagine that this is your spine. Your fists represent your spine. And so as you move, you can begin just to play. We're not gripping it hard and pushing it, but see if you can find a connection between the way that your spine is moving and this play with the hands as the spine. So for example, opening and arching, and then collapsing together. Bit like a cat-cow, inhaling. Exhale, coming closer together. Inhale. Exhale. Good. So just play with this connection. Try to discover new areas of sensation, movement, and exploration in the spine. And then the hands are just the playful sense of attunement and connection, mirroring this flexion and twisting in the spine. And if that doesn't feel so good for you, simply release the hands. And of course, our spine has both a tail at the bottom and a top that connects into our occiput at the back of the skull. So take one hand to the back of the head and one hand to your sacrum at the base of your spine. And let the body firm into your hands, and then begin to move and explore from there. Explore the spine. Twist gently, open the head and the neck. You know what? I'm going to invite us to come out of our seats. So come out of our props and our seats, come to a standing position. I hope you can still see me. Take one hand to the sacrum at the base of the spine and one hand to the back of the skull. Slight bend in the knees. And then find that same sense of discovery and movement within the spine. Using your hands and your tail and the top of the spine at the back of the skull as anchor points. I'm going to come sideways so you can see as well. And I'm just discovering, I'm rolling through the hips, circling now. Obviously the legs are now at greater play. And we have different levels. We don't have to stand straight up, but there's all these planes at which we can explore and discover. And if you feel connected to those spaces, you can release the hands and bring back this sense of movement through arms and elbows. Finding this fluidity, this connection between all our limbs and joints. And if this feels uncomfortable for you or strange or different, that is so okay. I really invite you into this explorative space, into something new, something that might feel strange or different, but what does that mean for you? What does that offer you? What is it like to step into something new? Good. Okay, let's come to our feet and just take a soft bounce in the knees. So we're just taking a bounce in the knees, and we're just going to let all of that go. We're going to let any mental effort, any kind of shame or weirdness or just, I don't know what I'm doing, we're just going to let that go. And we're just going to bounce in the knees. And then from the knees, we're relaxed and loose in the rest of our joints. And we simply allow ourselves to shake that all out. So we can shake through the wrists, bounce through the knees, make sure the neck and the head are relaxed, the jaw is easy. Let's take a few deep breaths. Keep bouncing. If you want to shake out the legs, let's shake out the legs. One by one. Make sure that you get the ankle and all the way to the hip. Bouncing, shaking, taking the arms and the wrists out to the side, then up above the head. Bending one knee and then the other. And just shaking it all out. Another 30 seconds, really letting go. Bringing in some vocalization, some sighs, some yawns, any sound you want to make. Inhale. This is your space to be free, to release, to let go. One more. Inhale. Good. Okay. Slowing it down. Slowing it down. Maybe just finding this beautiful shifting of weight, pouring of weight from one foot and leg to the next. As we gently come into a slower pace and rhythm, and we begin to even find maybe a sense of stability and stillness in our standing posture. Long exhalation releases us from any sense of doing or efforting. And again, if you'd like, you can close the eyes. If that doesn't feel comfortable for you, simply soften the gaze, lower the gaze. And invite back this meditative sense of observation. How am I feeling right now? What pulsations and sensations are moving through my body? I invite you to do what feels best for you in this moment. And that could be coming into a Shavasana style position, or just fully laid back, prone, resting position. It could be coming back down to a meditative seat for a few minutes. It could be just continuing to stand and observe. So I invite you to come into and maintain a degree of stillness for the next few minutes. Whatever and wherever is comfortable for you. Knowing that rest is always available. Comfort and ease is always available. Just letting the breath find a natural rhythm. No need to shift or change anything. I invite you to stay here as long as you'd like. Thank you so much for joining me in this practice, and I can't wait to see you next week.